Hello everyone, thank you for joining this webinar. Welcome to my home office in North London. How are you? I hope you're safe and well and sitting comfortably. My name is Dalim. You can see my brief details and my email IDs on screen. Feel free to email questions and comments to me if you wish. I'm very fortunate to have voluntary roles in two great professional organizations. The first is the BCS, the British Computer Society, the Chartered Institute for IT, where I lead two great groups with a total membership of over 8,000. Lots of super colleagues with a shared focus of making IT good for society. Plus, number two, I'm events director at the great ISACA London chapter, which has a membership of over 4,000 with focus on IT risk management, assurance, governance, security, cybersecurity, privacy, and compliance. I can recommend both organizations to you. With me today as facilitator for this webinar is my BCS colleague, John Jeffrey, who is the BCS Head of Community. So welcome, John. Plus, technical controller for this session is my BCS colleague, David Grundy, who's Secretary of Central London Branch. You can join in too by answering our poll later on. Now, my talk today is about an hour long. I'd like to do a number of things. Firstly, to share some views with you about aspects of our world in this disruptive decade, the 2020s. And boy, isn't it disruptive so far. Number two, we'll look at some global goals and how technology and IT can help. Number three, we'll look at how your skills can help to address opportunities and challenges, and of course, provide you with extra benefits. And four, finally, I'll have at least one question to ask you. So you'll later be able to access my slides and video via the group websites. I'll share quite a lot of information with you during this session. References to food, references and guess what I'm thinking of, food for thought that you can share with others and maybe before you go on to have your dinner. I'm looking forward to spending an hour or so with you on the topic of disruptive technologies, the future, and you. I hope you enjoy it. So, what does the future look like to you? Maybe it looks like the scary view on the left, but this has become a sort of outdated thing now, hasn't it, really? It's more likely to look like the one on the right, where we have a robot that is probably starting to look quite familiar to us these days. Certainly, if we watch BBC4, it would do. So as far as the world today is concerned, we're moving more towards automation and robotics, aren't we? But we are at this stage a cyber cultural evolution, which is a convergence of technology, societal acceptance, and regulation. That is from an event in 2018, but it still very much applies now. As far as our world is concerned, do you recognize this? The top left log jam of cars. Maybe it's people trying to get home after work and so on. Also, maybe some of them are actually driverless. Oh my God, like the one on the top right. Drones, great. Drones have been in the news a lot recently, haven't they? For example, at Gatwick some time ago, drones managed to stop the airport. Oh my God. But it's all about the future of mobility as well, intelligent connectivity. So we're talking 5G, AI, and IoT, and more. Let's have a closer look. Organizations such as Forrester make predictions, and their predictions 2020 shows us as being on the precipice of far-reaching change. For example, data strategy, unlocking transformation. For example, data and AI. For example, immersive adaptive IT. And for example, automation reshaping the workforce. Privacy is also very much a concern for today, and those are some of the highlights of the Forrester report. But if we keep on and go to the next slide, let's take a more data-oriented view. That's from NTT Data, and their Technology Foresight 2020 shows the following. A whole load of technology trends, sure, AI, data transformation, AI for healthcare and life sciences, vital in today's pandemic world. Security, computer power evolution. Yeah, if we're going to use all this computer power, we really need to get the power situation sorted. Also, machine human systems, hardware evolution. We need all of those, don't we? But what's it all about? Well, it's of course about information society trends, like it shows here. Individually centered design, you matter more than ever before in terms of where we're heading. Perhaps later we'll move to keyboard-less computing and more things like that. Expanding beyond borders. In fact, why not expanding beyond the world to more of the galaxy, and forging new norms? And haven't we learned a lot about that in the last few months of 2020? And we've got more to come. But let's go global. Let's go to a really high level and look at what we're trying to do for the world. The World Economic Forum, you know, I know that one because of Davos and all that sort of play, all that sort of thing. You too, probably. Well, they have this report, which they released in January 2020, called Unlocking Technology for the Global Goals. This was a report along with PwC, a firm I spent some years at. And what it does is it talks about the fourth industrial revolution in our connected world. The fourth industrial revolution? What is that? Well, in the 18th century onwards, the first industrial revolution saw the growth of steam power. It saw the growth of mechanized processes and urbanized society. In the 19th century, the second revolution embraced electricity and mass production. The third revolution from the mid 20th century saw the development of computers and digital technology, including the internet, disruptive automation of manufacturing, finance, communications, and more. I'm very much a part of that one, and I'm really thrilled to have seen Ian Berners-Lee, for example, and he is not only the father of the internet, he's also an honorary fellow of the BCS. That's Tim Berners-Lee. And now it's our turn. In the fourth industrial revolution, 4IR, we see the fusion of many physical, biological, and digital advances. The WEF report lists 17 global goals, starting with poverty alleviation, going through various others that you can see there. And as far as the report is concerned, these 17 global definitions are some of the WEF targets taken from the UN reports as well, to tackle environmental issues such as climate change, habitat loss, social issues ranging from poverty to inequality. And a number of them anyway, 10 of the 17, could be tackled by harnessing the power of technology. Looking at the next decade, the WEF gives predictions based on the applications of today on what can be achieved in health, clean energy, industry, innovation in infrastructure, sustainable cities, and communities. Now, at the top, there are a couple of quotes. The potential of fourth industrial revolution technologies to tackle major global challenges, such as poverty, climate change, etc., is immense. Yet this potential is far from being reached. Progress to reach the UN Global Goals for Sustainable Development by 2030 is not on track. Oh dear. Okay, well, let's look down at the bottom of this screen. Which are the technologies that can help with the 4IR ambitions, the goals? Big data platforms support progression of 100% of the sustainable development goals. AI is central to over 50% of the applications mapped. Blockchain plays a role in 25% of them. IoT in 33% of them. And advanced materials, and we'll talk more about all of these later, is involved in over 10% of the mapped applications. So IT is clearly important in our world, but let's look a little bit more at what IT they're talking about in this report. The core fourth industrial revolution's technologies considered in this report, it says here, our 4IR connected world is opening up many possibilities and powering many products and services that are becoming commonplace in our modern life. For example, I've got a TomTom satellite navigation system for vehicles for my car. I've got a voice activated AI virtual assistant, such as Amazon's Alexa, you probably have too. I've got my Fitbit here, wireless enabled wearable activity tracker, keeps me on track. I use Google Internet Search, and Facebook I don't use, but that has an ability to recognize your face and tag you in a photo. Now, to consider potential impacts of 4IR on our lives, let's look at some of these technologies that are driving innovation forward. Well, number one here, and we're looking at the yellow tabs here. Number one is artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning we'll put in there. Now, how do you think AI and ML are being used to develop technology to think like humans, in some ways at least? For example, to recognize complex patterns, to process information that would normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, and logic, and to present findings for us to consider in our decision making. So, if you want to watch a good movie, why not ask Netflix to present you with personalized recommendations based on your preferences, for example? Now, AI is already being used in healthcare, from helping with diagnosis of disease to creation of new medicines. In security, AI can help to identify criminals through facial recognition. It's part of the evolution of driverless cars and other autonomous vehicles. Cars can change lanes, brake, and avoid collisions using AI. And big data analytics is used to assess and predict outcomes. AI is being used in our working and home lives, for example, in Alexa and Netflix applications. There are, of course, fears about AI displacing jobs, but machines are currently unable to take over human creativity and collaboration. Yippee. However, we know that AI software may reflect the characteristics and bias of its human designers. For example, how about recruitment software that seems to prefer white male candidates in their 20s? Clearly, I'm not going to be supporting that one, but it's a real bias issue. So we clearly need to think and do more work on potential ethical, racial, legal, moral, and even religious implications of AI. Let's move to number two, blockchain. This is a DLT, distributed ledger technology, that uses software to record and verify transactions reliably and anonymously. The digital currency, Bitcoin, is the best known blockchain application, although there are actually dozens of digital or cryptocurrencies. The technology can also be used in other ways, including making supply chains traceable, securing sensitive medical data anonymously, and combating voter fraud. Could be helpful, for example, in the US, I guess. According to the Gartner 2019 report called Get to Know Blockchain, blockchain technology promises to allow any individual or commercial entity in the world to safely transact with any other without needing a bank, insurance company, logistics provider, or other intermediaries between them. Sounds good to me, doesn't it? Because it would presumably also avoid the fees. Blockchain ledgers can't be read, written, deleted, or changed as databases can. And they aren't controlled by a central administrator. Very interesting topic, well worth learning more about. Gartner predicts that blockchain could generate as much as 3.1 trillion US dollars in new business value by 2030. Number three, Internet of Things, IoT. This describes the networking of a collection of things, such as objects with sensors, software, connectivity, and computer capability that can collect and exchange data over the internet to enable smart solutions. This could be the Fitbit on your wrist, monitoring your movements and heart rate, or it could be your kitchen fridge telling your Alexa shopping list to buy more milk and cheese, or even the fridge emailing an order for more groceries using your internet connection to your local supermarket. Now, tracking devices inserted into parcels connected to the internet and identifiable by other devices enable you and your supplier to track your expected deliveries. You need to be home tomorrow between 10 and 2 o'clock in order to receive your parcel. There are also many industrial and agricultural users of this as well, of course, such as farmers putting IoT sensors into their fields to assess soil quality, fertilizer and watering needs, and on trees to monitor tree growth and trimming needs. Number 4, big data and analytics. Big data was found to influence 100% of the projects in the WEF report. Now, big data refers to very large, diverse data sets that include structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data from different sources, such as, again, sensors, mobile devices, audio, video, networks, log files, transactional apps, internet, AI, and social media in increasing numbers. Much of the data can be generated in real time and at very large scale. Big data analytics extract insights from the data using advanced analytics techniques such as text analytics, machine learning, predictive analytics, data mining, statistics, and natural language processing to gain new insights from new and existing data sources. Who can use it? Well, analysts, researchers, business users, and management are already making better and faster data-based decisions. Number 5, let's put that together with number 11. So that's advanced materials and synthetic biology. Advanced materials of the future could also help many sectors, including food, manufacturing, construction, healthcare, and renewable energy. The search for biomaterials, plastics and metal alloys with better conductivity and the production of more efficient batteries will also drive innovation in the electricity sector, allowing, guess what? Easier, more cost-effective energy storage and transmission. So lighter, smaller batteries will be invaluable for mobile phones, electric vehicles, of course, and other technology. Biotechnology harnesses cellular and molecular science to develop new processes and products for a whole load of uses. For example, developing new life-saving pharmaceuticals, yippee, and materials as well, more efficient industrial manufacturing processes, and cleaner, more efficient energy usage. And we need to get into all of those, don't we, to help those sustainable development goals. Scientists are already working to create the strongest biomaterial ever produced. They're also using AI and other technologies to research anti-coronavirus medicines. Something a little bit offbeat, maybe. In future, synthetic steaks grown in laboratories may even reduce our meat farming industries. Steak and chips for your dinner afterwards? Number 6, robotics and RPA, repetitive process automation. Now, by robotics, as you know, this refers to the design, manufacture, and use of electromechanical machines that assist human activities autonomously or operate to a set of predefined instructions using RPA, repetitive process automation software. Now, digital workers is a term that's coming up, and they can be trained, including their machines, but they can be trained using AI and ML, machine learning, to perform a business process similar to a human worker. So what's the benefit? They can do it faster, without breaks, and without mistakes. Oh my God. This can be ideal, of course, in industrial production lines for high volume, repeatable tasks, such as for car assembly, to known quality standards. Robots are used in fields as wide-ranging as manufacturing, health and safety, and human assistance. For example, did you know that in Japan, robotics has been explored in areas such as helping the aging population? Ooh, that's me, as well as customer service. For example, there's a hotel in Tokyo called the Hen-Na Hotel, which has a multilingual dinosaur robot receptionist. Check it out. Robots can already handle many repetitive functions. For example, remotely control your home lighting and heating, can't it? Now, where's my Hive controller gone? And work with CCTV security cameras to see who's outside your house. Knock, knock, who's there? Programmed autonomous machines can now mow your lawn or vacuum your carpet. I wonder if that's the same machine. And maybe soon we could have robot housekeepers in our homes. I wonder if all three of these tasks could be done together: robot housekeeping, lawn, and vacuum. That would be something. Number 7, AR, augmented reality, and VR, virtual reality. Imagine wearing AR spectacles, which can display your choice of information right in front of your eyes when you need it. Hey, wish I had that now. AR and VR will assist people by merging aspects of physical and digital worlds. They can offer a 3D computer simulation laid over a created true to life landscape, for example, or work with the viewer's surroundings. Many applications here that you can imagine in education, for example, and pilot training coming into land at Heathrow, to more fun applications like 3D painting, or I had this, simulating walking along scaffolding high above the ground on a building under construction. So I was doing that wearing my AR, VR glasses, and I was walking very, very carefully, and I could hear the bursts of laughter from the audience around the room as they watched me very carefully step forward along one little square of carpet, but very realistic that was. AR, VR apps are used for makeup, for example, clothing and furniture firms to allow users to digitally view products and try before you buy. Now that's very, very useful, not only, of course, in terms of today's coronavirus pandemic, where it means we can do things without going to shops and so on, but also in many, many other uses and times. Google's Translate mobile phone app allows users to scan and instantly translate street signs, menus, and other text. Could be really handy for tourists, and when we're allowed to be tourists again, that is, and life-changing for the partially sighted, of course. Number 8, 3D printing. Now, as far as 3D printing is concerned, it says on screen, additive manufacturing techniques used to create three-dimensional objects based on printing successive layers of materials, and that's what it is. But as far as that's concerned, this allows manufacturing businesses to print their own parts with less tooling at a lower cost and faster than traditional processes. And of course, they can just keep going through the night. Plus, designs can be customized to ensure a perfect fit. 3D printers have enabled hospitals to print respirators for people suffering from COVID-19, for example, as well as enabling architects to print parts of houses which can then be assembled, which can then be prefabricated and assembled, I should say. Bzzz. What's that noise? Oh, it's a drone. Drones will increase in number and increase in function. In fact, the WEF report predicts that the market will increase to be worth 52 billion US dollars by 2030. Now, aerial views from drones are now commonplace on TV and in films. Archaeologists use aerial drones to spot patterns in landscapes, and that can indicate buried buildings and underground features. Surveyors likewise use drones to safely and quickly examine the condition of tall buildings. Nuclear reactors and so on can be surveyed. Geologists and geographers are using drones to view difficult or dangerous terrain. Interestingly, in Africa, animal protection police are looking after endangered big game using anti-poacher drones with infrared and thermal imaging for night vision. After natural disasters such as earthquakes and floods, drones may be used as first responders to carry small amounts of supplies and first aid and phones, of course, to the worst affected areas way before humans can get there. Number 10, 5G. Many of the 4IR technologies are helped by the fastest speeds and bandwidth of fifth generation mobile connectivity technologies, 5G, and IoT networks. There'll be performance benefits for apps such as video streaming, interactive games, and online gambling. Businesses can collect customer data from constantly connected products, allowing them to better gauge how customers can use these products and to tailor marketing campaigns accordingly. Smart cities and their infrastructure, industry, buildings, lighting, heating, transport, communications, security, and so on can benefit extensively from use of 5G, IoT, AI, autonomous vehicles, robotics, and other new technologies. Number 12, over on the left, cloud computing and internet access. Of the innovations mentioned in the WEF report as using big data, around 80% of the technologies that will change the way we live and work are cloud and internet based. The WEF forecasts that the value of cloud computing will be around 623 billion US dollars by 2025. So that's quite soon. I wonder if some of these figures will actually move out because of our pandemic period, but those are the figures that are shown in this report. Modern cloud computing services can provide users with the benefits of on-demand self-service, performance, rapid scalability of data usage and computing power, reduced costs, improved service quality, and access to new technologies and services, of course. Finally, for this slide, number 13, electricity. Well, more than 90% of the technology applications identified across the goals rely on electricity access. So let's hope we don't get any major sun flares in the next few years. So I looked at all of this and I thought, I wonder if I can validate this against other predictions. Here's ISACA's prediction envisaging the 2020s. And I've mapped the numbers from the WF report onto this. And there's just one new one, and that's quantum computing. Now, by that, we're not referring to supercomputers, which have been around for decades and are still used in many fields. Very powerful, used in science, space research, military, meteorology, weather forecasting, and more. Now, much faster quantum computers are being developed, and they have a mind-boggling multi-state qubit potential with the ability to carry out billions of calculations in the twinkling of an eye, and they will change computing forever. Quantum can help with drug discovery, of course, fast encryption and decryption of security passwords, so major security implications there, and many other challenges. So this is all fantastic, isn't it? But there is, of course, other things to consider. Now, let's see if we can find any of them from this prediction, which is from the US-based training and certification organization, CompTIA. Their top 10 emerging technologies also map the same ones that we've discussed so far. So let's move on. These things are not just for business, of course, they're also for manufacturing. And for our world to continue to thrive, we need to manufacture things, don't we? And the era of smart manufacturing is here. As we can see, with the emergence of the industrial Internet of Things and AI, a new kind of cloud-connected, data-driven factory is emerging. So this too is something that is going to be incredibly important. And it says at the bottom of this Intel slide, or rather the bottom of the text, opportunities offered by Industry 4.0 are set to create a staggering 3.7 trillion US dollars in value within manufacturing across the globe. Wow. So there are some of those figures in another World Economic Forum report, the Global Risks Report 2020, which we'll see a little bit more about soon. And in there, precision medicine. I mean, I wonder if these are accurate. Of course, they're moving targets. They're moving all the time, the predictions, aren't they? Precision medicine, for example, I wonder if that prediction is going to escalate like crazy because of all the work that's being done globally on COVID and so on. Well, we're halfway through our presentation, but let's refer to a consultant of mine, Dilbert. What do you think about all this? What do you think about all these new technologies? The government asked us to design a system to stop drone attacks on the homeland. The future of civilization is in our hands. I'm going to miss civilization. Okay, well, thank you, Dilbert. Let's move on. And when we move on, there is also, of course, a dark side. The dark side is there all the time. Criminal, disruptive, and anti-societal individuals, groups, and even state organizations continue to exploit and advance disruptive technologies for their own subversive and financial purposes, including internet-based cybercrime, exploitation of the many hidden and secret layers of the deep and dark webs, out of sight from our generally accessible and searchable internet, which, as you can guess, on this iceberg, our part of the internet is just a bit above the waterline. All the rest of it is the deep and dark web, which is not accessible by us with our normal search engines and so on, and URLs and so on. And likewise for 4IR, as well as opening up worlds of opportunity for us to help our world, many of the new technologies are also revealing dark forces and matters for concern for our law-abiding societies. A ZDNet report on evil AI published recently and based on research done at UCL, University College London, shows that from targeted phishing campaigns to new stalking methods, there are plenty of ways that AI could be used to cause harm if it fell into the wrong hands. For example, deep fakes, using fake audio and video to impersonate other people. Create fake news. Now, where have I heard that expression before? Discredit public figures, influence public opinion and elections. Oh my word, we've got some big elections coming up soon, haven't we? Even extorting funds by impersonating somebody's child or relative on video calls. Yuck. The AI could also be used to harvest large personal data sets and information from social media, as it has been recently with Facebook and others. Then use the data for large-scale blackmail. Use of AI systems for criminal or terror motives could result in power failures, breakdown of food logistics, and widespread chaos. And that we definitely don't want. We need to work against that. Now, what about blockchain? Well, blockchain identity solutions aim to reduce exposure to fraud in activities such as insurance claims, credit access, and voting. But criminals can also profit from use of blockchain anonymity to conduct illicit business deals. And I'm sure they've done many of those already, including for drug dealing, weapons trading, people smuggling, tax evasion, money laundering, and cybercrime. Disturbing AR and VR instances include use of realistic game software for crime rehearsals of many, many kinds. 3D printing can also have less desirable possibilities, such as criminals using the technology to print 3D guns, which may not be usable for firing bullets or might not be so good at it, but they do look like guns. Now, while drones can be used to save life, they can also be used for criminal purposes, such as flying drugs and mobile phones to prisoners in jails. Large drones carrying missiles can be remotely guided to kill suspected terrorists in far-off lands, Iraq, Afghanistan, for example. And this also, of course, wipes out a whole load of people around the suspected terrorist, we've noticed, which leads us to ethical issues of when and how drones and other technologies should be used. So, what are the barriers to us progressing towards the global goals? Well, all of the four IR technologies are susceptible to misuse and require risk mitigation and management of ethical and legal concerns. So very much the preserve of organizations such as ISACA and BCS. For example, data. Limited data volume quality analysis and interoperability can, of course, skew results and so on. People, we need better skills and better people distributed where they're required, and insufficient collaboration. We need to collaborate more. So there are all of those things in the panels on the left. Top right, you can see the WEF Global Risks Report shows increasing likelihood and impact of cyber attacks, data fraud and theft, advanced technological advances, for bad purposes, and so on. And down at the bottom, from the ISACA Envisaging the 2020s report, what's prompting potentially malicious or errant uses of AI? Top 5 concerns: attacks on critical infrastructure, social engineering, autonomous weapons, oh my God, attacks targeting the healthcare sector, definitely don't want that, and data poisoning, not good, but that's where we are. And of course, we know that on the other side, the world of cyber criminals has been blossoming, has been mushrooming as well, hasn't it? This just shows 8 years worth of progress, as it were, on that side. And this is very much something that is working against us. But organizations, particularly such as ISACA and BCS and others, are working on this. As you can see from the ISACA journal at the bottom right on cybersecurity. So here's a BCS report, AI in 2019 and beyond. Well, on the left in the picture and so on, you can see a little drug capsule invented by artificial intelligence used in human trials in a world first for machine learning in medicine. And that dates from January this year. But there are loads of opportunities, of course. AI will underpin all we do at work and play, says the middle panel, opportunities. Down at the bottom, D says, a recent report from PwC, AI and related tech are projected to create as many jobs as they displace in the UK over the next 20 years, according to PwC analysts. 65% of children now entering primary school, some of them maybe a few weeks late in current situation, will hold jobs that currently don't exist. Digital skills at the bottom there, it's likely that the 4IR will favor those with strong digital skills, as well as capabilities like creativity and teamwork, which humans are good at, but machines find it harder to replicate. And finally, E shows that by 2025, more than half of all workplace tasks will be performed by machines. Who says so? Oh, it's the World Economic Forum again. Can you hear that noise outside? What's all that rowdiness outside? Just looking out of the window here, it's a whole crowd of people, a whole crowd of young people, and they're chanting something, they're screaming something. There is no planet B. There is no planet B. What are they talking about? But wait a minute, do I recognize my children there? Do I recognize your children there? These are our children and other young people, inspired by Greta Thunberg and other climate protesters. They've become very tuned in to what we're doing to the planet using our technology and so on. They don't want us to mine all the wonderful resources of this planet and take away mountains to search for the minerals used for computers and their mobile phones, I might add, and so on. They don't want that. They want us to look after the climate and our earth. But as it says in the BCS IT Now report on the bottom right, it's not easy being green. This is what we have to think about and do something about for the world. Dilbert, what do you think? Come on. Self-driving car. Do you know that if I drive you off a cliff, you will die, whereas I will respawn in a new body? Dilbert says, maybe I'll walk. Maybe you should. So there's a downside to everything as well. There's something we need to think about with everything as well, isn't it? Well, countering dark forces is creating new opportunities and industries for all of us. And we need to look after our planet and nature. That's becoming obvious. But meanwhile, kapow, nature is reminding us of this because COVID has arrived and is causing global havoc. It has done for months. So again, we're increasingly reaching to technology, whether for good or bad, to try to counter that, develop medicines, etc., etc. So we need, we think, global strategy, digital global strategy in a time of crisis. And of course, a time of crisis, such as the coronavirus epidemic, demands boldness and it demands learning. So let's get these kids, let's get these youngsters to work. Let's get ourselves to work as well, because let's go to the BCS motto and look at things like this McKinsey report on tech for good, using technology to smooth disruption and improve well-being. Clearly what we need to do. This was a May 2019 discussion paper. So how will we do it? What will we do? Well, let's just do a double check by asking Gartner. Well, Gartner shows top 10 strategic technology trends for 2020. And they're onto it in terms of it's not just the technology. And the technology, as you can see from the yellow bubbles, all map to our previous mapping. They have classified things as people-centric or smart space-centric. So that's good. People and spaces. Let's hang on to that. They've got lots of examples. So for example, top left, hyper automation. They say the number one use case for AI is process automation, and hyper automation is to try to automate everything that can be automated to make life better for us humans. But democratization, what on earth does that mean? Well, top right, they define it, automation of data science tasks, which will enable us and citizen data scientists to produce higher volume of good quality advanced analysis than expert data scientists. So everybody will start to become better at this. Multi-experience using voice, eye tracking, gestures, emotions, positions, and many more. Let me just touch my mobile with my thumb to log me in, for example. Human augmentation as well. We need to use AI and emerging technologies more and more to reduce barriers to access. But there are a couple of things relating to people-centric that I want to share with you here. Transparency and traceability, explainable AI. Takes a model, highlights its strengths and weaknesses, predicts likely behavior, identifies potential biases to enable accuracy, fairness, accountability, stability, and transparency in algorithmic decision making. And BCS has been majoring on that. And I'm sure there's a whole load of extra interest in this because all the school children who have just gone through their GCSE and A-level stages without being able to take exams because of the virus, and they've had an algorithm allocate exam results to them, and boy, has that raised a lot of fuss. But more things to do with the COVID period are shown on the right. Hyper automation, automate processes when staff are isolated or unavailable. Multi-experience, hands-free user experiences. Democratization, empower staff more. Human augmentation, just-in-time training, and so on. The other side of the Gartner technology trends was, of course, in terms of space related. So what is empowered edge? Well, it's basically computing where we are. So it takes computing to not keeping them in the corporate IT systems, but to where you and I are. And number 12, distributed cloud down below, helps that as well. To provide services that execute at the point of need, not centrally. Autonomous things, no big surprises there. Robots, drones, vehicles, and appliances. Hey, wait a minute, is that a lawnmower that's cleaning my wooden floor? I hope not. And bottom right, practical blockchain. By 2023, blockchain-inspired technology will support the global movement and tracking of 2 trillion US dollars of goods and services annually, predicts Gartner. Well, that might not be on track anymore, but certainly it's something that we're heading towards. And two bottom line implications I want to share with you here. AI security. Cyber attacks will increasingly use training, data poisoning, AI model theft, and adversarial, I don't know, you can read it on screen there on the top left. But bottom left, whilst we are developing better and better security techniques, anti-phishing, anti-ransomware, vulnerability management, anti-malware, so are the bad guys. They are working hard on the attacker techniques of data poisoning and so on. So it's a war, it's a struggle. We need to keep going. Meanwhile, smart spaces COVID implications, there are some of the ones that are predicted by Gartner and are being in use already and will need to be used going forward through our COVID period and beyond to bring us out more strongly on the other side. Okay, well, we've had 3/4 of our time so far. Now, let's have a look. Well, hey, wait a minute. With all this automation going on, will it mean that our colleagues will become electric in the future? This harks back to a BCS North London branch event in 2019, where Sarah's answer was yes, but there'll also be many new creative science, technology, engineering, and so on jobs and knowledge-based jobs. And I've added plus IT jobs in health, remote working systems, social media. We could be talking about other things to do also with logistics and so on. So humans enabled by machines. Are we talking about the top left picture? Well, not yet. Robots and humans walking the factory floor together. By the way, the robot's the one on the left. Top right, give me a hand could take on a different meaning if it's a robotic hand, but it could be far better and more strong than our human equivalent, couldn't it? Bottom left, big data and analytics can very quickly give us insights into things, providing our algorithms are correct, of course, and they can bring them not only to our screen. Why to our screen? Why not straight in front of our eyes like the bottom right? So this could be the future of work as predicted by McKinsey. Lots of other ideas here, and I want to share some of these with you from an EY Megatrends report way back in 2018. Well, drones, augmented reality glasses, we've talked about exoskeletons to reinforce human capabilities, smart clothes to monitor us, our heartbeat, pulse rate, and bodily functions instead of us wearing our standard clothing. Rather more worrying and needing much more ethical thinking and so on, and law and other considerations. Brain-machine interfaces. That's interesting, isn't it? Bionic eyes could provide instant visual access to information. But how will they change work and how will they change us? Nanobots, which can ride within our bodies so that physicians can see the parts of our body where they suspect problems to be. Autonomous vehicles as well. Well, those are some of the future possibilities, but other ones as we get older. Oh, and we're all getting older. Here are some of them, again, from the EY Megatrends report. Social engagement technologies to keep us socially engaged. Breakthrough drugs to keep us healthy. Autonomous vehicles of various kinds to keep seniors mobile as they age, because mobility is key, isn't it? Wearables and implantables. Behavioral incentives, that's a question mark, I put that as, and because this is to do with a behavioral revolution to save for retirement and to save ideas for retirement. Avatars, home robots, sure, sensors to sensor us and our homes, but also material wellness to think about retirement and what it could mean. So these are some things that we will face more and more as we get older and our population ages. Right. Well, in our final 10 minutes, I want to look at you and your capabilities and so on. Here's a CompTIA Outlook 2020 report, which shows that there are some critical areas within data, cybersecurity, software development, and infrastructure. Data related includes data management and policies, as well as the others which map easily to our WEF and other criteria. In terms of within cybersecurity, well, we need workforce education. We really need to do that much, much better, don't we? And also two very ISACA areas, risk analysis and compliance, which are also major for BCS. Also privacy. These are all areas we need to do much more work on. Software development, user experience, QA, DevOps, mobile development. We need to do more on these. So these are all opportunities, job opportunities for us for the future, and even more so in terms of infrastructure. And you can see there are lots of possibilities of things to learn more about. Right, okay, so those are the things that we can start addressing. Now here's a BCS report, AI and your job, from July, so just a few weeks ago. How do we use our organization's interests for ourselves? Well, which areas of interest will be of particular interest for your organization was the question that was asked top left. Assisted or augmented decision making, automation of repetitive tasks, predicting outcomes, and augmentation of processes, automated business decision making, and personalized computer experiences all came out as being key. Also, conversational interfaces. Remember me asking why we need to keep on using keyboards and so on. Top right, which technologies do you consider are most difficult to recruit for? Data analysis, tech, integration between tech and processes, ethical thinking, business analysis, AI auditing. Very interesting. Those are areas you might like to think about developing your skills in, and those of your children and colleagues. Bottom, which of these professions might become obsolete? Well, telemarketing, I can understand that. Receptionist, I can understand, although I would hope it's not a dragon or dinosaur robot receptionist, but who knows. Commercial drivers, well, yes, to some extent. Logistics drivers have been very useful for now, but later when we get automated vehicles, maybe not so much. And you can see some of those other ones there as well. Cybersecurity expert, I'm not sure, but these are all moving targets, aren't they? But these are areas for you might like to consider. Now, if you're in ISACA, there are some ISACA certifications you can go for. ISACA Journal has lots of possibilities, including technology on the edge. You can develop yourself, you can volunteer, and so on. So that's ISACA, but we are in a BCS session right now, aren't we? In BCS, have you been looking at IT now? I have. A bit anyway, but I find some really good things. Blockchain, digital transformation, ethics, key BCS target area. And over on the right-hand side, more IT now, inspire the next generation. And also accelerate the future. That's what we want to do, isn't it? And here are some more direct possibilities which I can recommend. Join a group. Join your local group, such as BCS North London branch or BCS London Central branch. have a look, but because we have got a joint library of videos, and you can see a panel there showing library of videos, and that includes lots of videos which are actually relating to 4IR. And one question I have for you, I'll put it to you straight away. Do you have ideas for a video you would like to do, or do you know others who would like to be recorded and produce a video for the library of videos? If so, do get in touch and we can talk about it. But we're also doing a number of other things. We're supporting BAME initiatives for Black, Asian and mixed ethnic groups and so on. We're supporting STEM and younger people and the early careers executive. We're also looking at older people and how being left behind is something that worries them as well as other people in our population. We can look at BCS books, and BCS has got a huge library of books, so make better use of that if you would. And we're looking for computing ideas for a better society, so please do share your views with us as far as that's concerned. Develop your professionalism. Join not only a BCS branch, your local branch, in order to network with other professionals and learn more and develop yourself, but also one of the many scores of BCS specialist groups. If you're interested in artificial intelligence or blockchain, why not consider taking a BCS certification? Join a BCS specialist group to meet experts in topics such as AI, ethics, future computing, green IT, health, ethics, we've had ethics already, law, cybercrime, forensics, information risk management, security, even entrepreneurship. They're all there along with scores of others. So to access a wealth of existing knowledge, take a look at BCS videos on YouTube or at the library of videos, including the ones on 4IR topics, and suggest something by email about your relevant video for consideration for the LOV, or offer to speak at a future in-person event, of course. Now, look, there's something down at the bottom right we mustn't miss. If you want to look at possibilities in our wonderful world past the 2020s, I recommend this book, Michio Kaku, Physics of the Future. Wonderful, far-looking insights, thoroughly worthwhile. Okay, so the future is waiting. It's waiting for you. How can you help improve our society and our world? Will you embrace robotics, like on the right? Will you get a chip will you develop a chip on your shoulder, like the middle picture there? Hey, not me. My cat Rosie has got a chip on her shoulder, and she loves it because it enables her to zoom through our cat flap, whereas unwanted cats can't do so. Yippee. But please make sure you think about and consider our future generations and our beautiful planet and its resources and possibilities. So much worthwhile there. I think you'll agree. So think about it and email me by all means with your ideas. I welcome that. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar and found it informative and useful. We've covered some aspects of, number one, our world in the 2020s. Number two, some global goals and how technology and IT can help. Number three, how your skills can help to address opportunities and challenges. And finally, I put some questions to you. My slides and videos should be available before too long via one of the group websites. Meanwhile, do email any questions or comments to me. And above all, don't miss your chance to learn more about 4IR, develop your skills and others, and contribute to making IT good for society today and in the future. I look forward to seeing you at a future webinar or event. And meanwhile, David, over to you.
Hi there. So we're going to try a quick poll. So we want to know, where are you now when you're watching this webinar? So that should be on your screen now. If we leave that for a few seconds for people to answer. Okay, so we've got some answers coming in. Okay, so yeah, the results of the poll, 39% are in London, 49% are in the UK but not London, and 11% are outside the UK, which is really interesting. We do have some questions. If you've got any more questions, then feel free to type them in. So the first question is about the Internet of Vehicles, which is related to the Internet of Things. Dalim, do you know about the Internet of Vehicles and what does that involve? Dalim, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I can, but and now I'll unmute myself so you can hear me as well.
Okay.
This is indeed a fascinating topic, and it's one of those that we need to do much more research on. The whole area of transport is something that we need to get much better at. And by the way, where we're heading is towards a world where vehicles won't, for example, need wheels, because wheels, whether they're your driving wheel inside the car or physical wheels attached to the linking the car to the road, are huge areas of friction. Those road wheels, why do we need them? So as we move forward into the future, we'll look more at electromechanical devices which allow us to float vehicles above the road surface and move forward. Of course, this brings even bigger concerns about the Internet of Things, about the whole ethics questions about, for example, you've probably heard the one about auto-controlled fleet of trucks going along a road, and a small car wants to come in from a side road and kapow, you know, what
Oh,
happens then, and so on. Also, you've heard about the Jeeps in the States, which were sent way off course by hacking, because their automatic controls were hacked and they went off the road. So a lot more thinking to do there, but I know that organizations such as Ford, GM, etc. are working very seriously on that because it's their future.
okay, and another question. Will societies and their governments evolve at a sufficient rate for the technology timing predictions to come true and deliver more benefits than harm?
Well, this is something that we are not finding so far, unfortunately. We need to improve. We need to get there, don't we? But as yet, the indications are that we're behind. And with things such as COVID pandemic and so on, I'm sure we've slipped behind in terms of all of this as well. So much more work, much more thinking needed. So chivvy your government representatives, let's get some of these things moving. And I know that BCS is great at lobbying government and so on different things.
Okay, we've got another question. What do you think of facial recognition within society? Does it affect our privacy and way of living?
Personal opinion, definitely. But it can also help us. For example, let's say a friend of yours was on Oxford Street in London, very busy, millions of people and so on, and was mugged, or well, had their handbag stolen maybe, or worse, was mugged and attacked. If the cameras, the CCTV cameras are focused on that and can be adequately magnified, of course, you can spot who did it, and then you can track them using facial recognition in order to see where they went next. This is all great and sounds fantastic. As yet, that technology appears to be still fairly infant. We need to develop it further, but it's all aimed at making for a safer society. Again, lots of ethical, moral, legal questions relating to this.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have. So in the next few days, we will make this available on YouTube and we will send the link to all the people who registered.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for being part of this session. I hope you've enjoyed it. I really look forward to hearing your ideas about future sessions relating to 4IR and the issues around it, and especially if you would like to come and discuss them or present them to us. So please do email us with those ideas. Thank you very much.